welcome to another episode of Candid Convos. And today's guest is Tim Nardell. Tim, thank you very much for joining us. And can you please introduce yourself and let our audience know what do you do for a living?
Sure, I'm happy to be here, Joe, and it's nice to meet you. So I'm an attorney in California. I'm in a county called Marin County, California, and my office is in the center of Marin County, a town called San Rafael. And I practice. I started my career as a commercial litigator, doing large commercial cases and some intellectual property cases. But I've sort of migrated as I've grown older and grown my own practice instead of working for other people to be more of a general practice litigator. Doing a lot of business disputes, a lot of real estate disputes, occasionally even personal injury disputes of all kinds. And as I get older and grow in my own wisdom, so to speak, I'm finding that I'm trying to keep people out of disputes as much as I'm helping people manage their way through disputes. And over the last 2-3 years, I've been developing my practice as an arbitrator instead of as a advocate. So that's a different area of my practice that's still developing, but it's a lot of interest to me to help people through the process by being more of a judge than an advocate. I learned from that myself as an advocate, but I feel like I bring something good to the table, having represented people for 25 years in disputes.
Now you have pretty much, like, I'd say, 70% of the legal profession is now living in the digital workspace. So because there are still many different cases, many different type of practice areas where you do have to show up face to face, but the tendency it's shifting towards that other end. And just the fact that I like the way that you put it. You said we're trying or we're moving towards that hybrid transition because it's what's making most sense and looks like that's where the world is going to. But at the same time, you're already comfortably working remotely with some of your clients that are remote as well. So it's not like you're struggling to adapt. It sounds to me like you're there already, but I am curious. You say you're moving towards that part of the evolution of our digital work. Do you believe that there's still something to be done, or are you there yet? Like what's your transition when it comes to becoming a new wave type of business?
I think it's always a process. I mean, the legal practice is changing, society is changing, but I feel that being a smaller firm, we can be more nimble in making these changes than some of the bigger firms. You know, having some of my friends and colleagues from my former life, they're stuck with gigantic leases. You know, that's a problem for the firm, perhaps the problems for the firm management, but it's also a problem in a way for the clients because they need to charge rates to justify or to pay their leases. And, you know, from what I understand from my friends, they have 100 offices and 5 people in the offices. That's a problem for everyone, including the clients, because they're paying bills to support those 95 empty offices. We don't come with that baggage, and that's a great thing. That's something I'm very proud of. Mm-hmm. You know, 3 days ago, I was in the Court of Appeals in California, and it was interesting. It's the first time I've experienced both real hybrid court at a very high level. The level of advocacy, the level of the judges was very, very impressive, moving, in fact. And what I saw there was some lawyers appearing remotely, some lawyers being there in person, and all of the judges in person. I watched a few weeks ago, I saw a case where one of the judges was remote as well. So it really is a new world. In my case, my clients wanted me to be there in person, and of course I was going to be there in person for my clients. And there is something about reading the room that's still the case. I was able to look that when the judges were talking to my opponent, I could read their body language. I could see how they were reacting to arguments. And one time in particular, I felt the justices were talking while the other opponent was arguing. They were talking to me, and they were giving me information that I needed to convey to my client about our case. So there's something still to be said about in person, but it's amazing what you can do remotely. It's amazing how it can be almost as effective and in some cases more effective to do things remotely.
I do know that you also got people working with you remotely, and even someone from GSU. I'm wondering, what's that relationship like when it comes to your type of work, your line of business? I can see you clearly take things very seriously, as it should be, because it is a serious business, but at the same time, it is a very rewarding business. Now, having said that, you mentioned my clients wanted me to be there, and I'm going to be there for my clients. So there is a very high level of trust when it comes to this, or when it comes to working as an attorney. So you bringing people that are working with you remotely, what's that setup like when it's such a high level of trust and there's still something to be said when it comes to face?
That's a interesting question. I think it's developing. You develop a relationship with anyone you work with, and in a sense, it's easy to develop a relationship with someone sitting across the table. But you and I are developing a relationship and a rapport right now, and I believe you're in Mexico and I'm in California. So it's, this technology can help us develop a relationship. I use Skype with my assistant every day to check in the morning and then talk over the course of the day about projects, and then occasionally just to talk about life. What's going on? What's the weather like over there? Because it's not just dollars and cents. It's not just business. It's a human business, and we need relationships are at the core of it, and trust is really at the core of those relationships. So it's a little different to look someone in the eye over Zoom than it is over the course of over a beer, but you can do it. Mm-hmm. And it's I think with this new technology, it's been great to be able to work with someone who's so talented as my assistant, who is in a different country, and he has some freedom too. You mentioned the Mexican Riviera, and I think he was in Merida a couple weeks ago while he was helping me with a filing in Sonoma County, California. That's really impressive.
Now I'm wondering, what type of skills do you look for someone? I mean, you were looking for this position, right? You were looking for somebody to take care of a specific type of workload while you're able to manage the main one, the legal aspect of what you do. So what type of traits were you looking for, or do you suggest to look for in someone that's going to be working remotely?
I think a good level of English is unfortunately still important. I speak Spanish happily, and one of the things that's fun is to speak Spanish with my assistant. But I was at the beginning, I was trying to speak Spanish with him a lot, and he kind of shut me down, and he was right, because our relationship is based on a U.S. law, and representing people in California, and so really he needs to learn the vocabulary of my clients to be able to help me, and that's an important part, and that's developed over time. Sewell's English was always good, but now it's the difference between good English and professional English, and that's it's a work in progress. We're all learning English together. And communication skill is really important, but I would say organizational skill is really the most important thing.
And coming from one attorney to another, I appreciate what you do. I appreciate the type of work that you do. I really do.
Thank you, Joe. It's really a pleasure talking with you, and I appreciate what you do. Getting helping people get the word out about themselves and just talking to different people. It's an awesome job you got.